Thank you for watching The Thought Criminals with your co-host. We're at thoughtcriminals.ning.com. It's named after the resistance to the totalitarian thought police of George Orwell's 1984, which we now refer to as being woke. I'm your host, Rachel Alexander. I'm a weekly contributor to Townhall and other sites, and the editor of Intellectual Conservative. And this is my mall, Ralph Benko, who worked in or with the Reagan W. Bush and Trump White Houses. He's a weekly columnist for Newsmax, co-author of the Capitalist Manifesto, and co-founder and executive chairman of the 187,000 member Capitalist League Facebook group. So today we are going to talk about this race in Arizona. We're coming down to the last 2 days until the primary election. Will Mark Brnovich, our Arizona Attorney General, who has championed election fraud more than any other elected official in the country.
Rachel, who has opposed election fraud, not championed election fraud. For our low information viewers, okay, I don't want you to confuse them. So just a clarification.
Yeah, didn't Biden say something along the lines of election fraud championing? Okay, I'm just copying our president.
Okay.
And then we're going to pivot after that to a discussion of wokism in business, otherwise known as ESG, which stands for environmental and social governance responsibility, something Elon Musk has been pointing out. So to talk about one of the hottest races in the country, because if Republicans take back this Senate seat in Arizona, there's a good chance Republicans will take back the entire Senate. So all eyes are on this race. And I just wrote an article for Townhall and other sites on how people have, incorrectly mischaracterized Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich as weak on election fraud, when the reality is he couldn't be anything except the opposite. I've been covering him.
Wait, hold on a second, Rachel. Let me just be a little more biting than you. You're just too sweet and nice. I'm sorry. There are worse sins, okay? He's been lied about, okay? People haven't been misinterpreting this. They've been fed a pack of lies, of fake news, accusing him of something that is the diametrical opposite of the truth. So don't sugarcoat it, babe, okay? He's been defamed, he's been slandered, he's been libeled. They use words you never read in the Bible, okay? Brnovich has proven himself indeed, not just in word, okay, because he's a workhorse, not just a show horse, to be a absolute hero when it comes to this issue. So please, people aren't misinterpreting it. They've been misled. Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, I just meant some of our wonderful conservative-based grass activists are misinterpreting, whereas the ones putting the message out, the 4 billionaires, out-of-state billionaires supporting Blake Masters, they're the ones who are actually deliberately stating it, mischaracterizing it. And I point out in my article that this Blake Masters, who finagled the endorsement of Trump, which is just really sad, because I think it just, ultimately is going to hurt Trump, who's been so wonderful for us. This guy, while he's an attorney, he's never gotten involved in one single election integrity legal action ever. And meanwhile, you have candidates who are jumping in with lawsuits and filing this amicus curiae briefs. You don't have to do anything to file amicus curiae briefs. Any old person can jump in and do one. But this Blake Masters has done nothing. From what I can tell, all he does is he sits at home. You can go to his media page on his website, and he pitches himself to media news sites where he gets on there and he says, Mark Brnovich is a do-nothing rhino who all he ever does is go on Fox News. Well, the reality is Brnovich is on Fox News all the time because he's been endorsed by Sean Hannity and Mark Levin. So he gets asked to be on these shows, unlike Blake Masters, who has to have a PR team pitching him to get on. And nobody even trusts this Blake Masters. He has a history as a radical left libertarian, pro-choice, convinced a friend of his to become pro-choice. There's no record for this guy to even stand on. All he's ever done his entire life, it appears, I can't find the other record of it, is work for Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel. So when you've got the record of Brnovich, who has a Supreme Court case named after him, Brnovich versus DNC, where he inserted himself into a lawsuit. He didn't even have to be involved in this lawsuit to stop ballot harvesting and protect Arizona's ballot harvesting laws. He won. And that is a record that you can stand on. And so I don't like this Orwellian situation we have in Arizona right now, where a tried and true conservative with a really long record at the Arizona Sun-Times, the last year I have followed Brnovich's work closer than probably any reporter in the country. I have never seen somebody so proactive when it comes to suing the Biden administration, getting involved, trying to protect election integrity. So the lies that I have seen coming out are just, I feel like it's going to hurt the MAGA cause.
You feel like it's going to hurt the MAGA cause. Well, you're not alone in that. There are a lot of people who are raising eyebrows about Blake Masters. And by the way, full disclosure, I have a copy of 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel and Blake Masters, autographed by both of them. Okay. And so just let me set the record straight. I think that Blake Masters is a impressive venture capitalist when it comes to digital media. Okay. But I'm very disappointed in the lies that he is spreading about Brnovich. We can, if he wanted to, if he represented a viable candidate against Mark Kelly and wanted to win this on the merits, he would not do it by destroying a fellow Republican, but failing to destroy the reputation of a true and admirable conservative by Mark Brnovich. He would be trying to win it on the merits. Okay, Blake Masters has a lot of things going for him when it comes to digital innovation. Okay, but he's a stranger in a strange land when it comes to politics, and I don't think he's actually he can't avoid the blame, but I don't think he's the source of the lies about Brnovich. Okay, I think
I've heard from inside sources he is the one spreading them.
I'm sure his operatives are. Okay.
Well, he's right there with them.
And he has to take responsibility for that. Okay, but he's new to a game that you're an old hand at. Okay, Blake Masters. Okay, I wish him. I wish that he goes back to Silicon Valley and becomes a multi-billionaire. Okay, because he has a lot of talents, but to play dirty in politics by attacking the reputation of a truly good man, Mark Brnovich, is a foul. And I'm very disappointed that he did that. After he commits his kamikaze raid against Mark Kelly, okay, and ends up in a plume of flames because Mark Kelly is going to crush him like a bug. I'm sorry to say that because I really do want the Senate to turn over to the Republican column. And I believe that Mark Brnovich is the only one in the race who could actually pull that off. But I hope Blake learns his lesson and becomes a more positive, constructive team player for the conservative movement than he's shown himself to be in this race. So it'll be an expensive loss for him and for his political godfather.
$600,000 of his own money into the race this past week. And that's only because he doesn't think he's winning by as much as, he acts like he's winning. And I want to point out, you point out that he can't win. And if you look at all the polling, it shows he's massively losing to Mark Kelly in the general. Mark Kelly is on par. You're the one who tipped me off to this, Ralph, a few weeks ago, when you pointed out that he's on his way to raising another 100 million, just like he did a couple years ago in the Senate.
Right.
Okay? The Democrats are putting all their money, all their eggs into this. And so he's practically indefeatable. But the polls also showed that Brnovich was the only one who came within 2 points of beating Kelly in the general.
Right, and God bless Peter Thiel, who is a very noble foe of political correctness. Okay, for putting $10 million in behind his handpicked Maverick.
He's just put in a few more million too.
Okay, good for him. But he's up against a Death Star with Mark Kelly, that money can't neutralize. Okay, only somebody with like Brnovich, who has a track record, an actual track record, can possibly has any chance at all of overcoming the money advantage. And Brnovich's victory, a Brnovich victory in the primary and in the general election, has terribly important national implications, because if we can only get Brnovich into the U.S. Senate, our chances of regaining the Senate majority go way up. Unfortunately, for all of his virtues, if Blake Masters gets the nomination, our chances of regaining majority control of the Senate go way down. It's just a fact of life.
Okay, and I want to bring up 3 other points here. Okay, first of all, having lived in Arizona myself since 1996, I got really frustrated when we had, Kirsten Sinema and Mark Kelly become our senators, and everybody said, oh, Arizona's turning blue. Well, you know what? I crunched the numbers. I did the voter registration numbers. I've got an article out there. Anyone can go and look at it. And in the past, couple of years, we're actually trending red. So, even though we lost a few percentage points, Democrats came within 4 points of Republicans in voter registration in Arizona. That's still as far as they got. But I'm going to have to sit and fight back against people saying we're becoming blue if Blake Masters wins this primary, because he's going to lose the general. And we've done this story before. Martha McSally, who was a horrible candidate. We all knew she couldn't get elected. She lost the first time running for Senate. And then Ducey went and appointed her to replace McCain. And then when she ran against Kelly, of course, she lost. Well, that's not evidence of Arizona turning blue. That's evidence of you're picking a horrible candidate who cannot possibly win. And so the Democrats have gotten smart.
I'm sorry. Let's not slur the good name of McSally. Okay.
I disagree with you. I've written 2 articles about how she's a rhino. I don't think she has a good name.
I'm sorry. Please don't call. I served in the Reagan White House, and Reagan coined a law: never criticize a fellow Republican. Okay, I understand where you're coming from, because I'm a right.
I don't agree with that. I think we should get involved in primaries.
Okay.
The Republican Party here is getting involved in primaries, in several primaries.
Yes,
they are.
Yes, I am too. But please don't slur the good name of McSally.
You can like McSally. I don't have to like McSally.
I don't.
She's responsible for people thinking this state is turning blue. I think
I don't love McSally. You know me. I love Kirsten Sinema because she's hot. Okay, but that's a separate matter. Okay, and by the way, I vote in Maryland. I don't vote in Arizona, so my love for Kirsten Sinema is irrelevant. I'm just saying, can we just recontextualize this as saying we want your William F. Buckley endorsed candidate, which is to say the furthest right person who can win in the general election. Okay, and let's not blacken the reputation of McSally. Let us.
You don't have to, but I feel completely entitled to.
Okay, shame on you, scum and
We're just going to have to agree to disagree on that.
Well, okay, but we can agree to agree on the furthest right candidate who's capable of winning the general election is Mark Brnovich. The evidence is
last time it wasn't Martha McSally.
Right. The evidence that Mark Brnovich is the most conservative candidate who can win the general election is unequivocal and conclusive. And so without saying a bad word about any of the rivals or about McSally, okay, we can agree that the best thing for America, the best thing for Arizona would be the nomination of Mark Brnovich for United States Senate on August 2nd.
And my other 2 points were.
And by the way, for all of the Blake Masters aficionados who are watching us, the primary is actually on March 3rd.
Right on. So my other 2 points I wanted to make were Democrats are increasingly voting in Republican primaries this year around the country. They're trying to vote for the candidates they think that are the most unelectable in the general. My lefty friend who lives in another state He's not even politically active. He's just very politically aware. He even voted in his state's primary for what he thought was the most unelectable far-right candidate. And so this is happening in droves. In that article I issued about voter registration a few months ago, I believe in March, I already noticed there was a substantial shift back then from Democrats voting as independents. There was so much of it that whereas Democrats had begun to outnumber independents here in Arizona, that flipped back. And so independents now outnumber Democrats, because these Democrats know if they're registered as independents, they can request a GOP ballot. So down the road, I'm going to look at the voter registration figures going all the way up till the last time you can register before the primary. And I would like to, show how, there was this massive increase right before the deadline. And so we already know they're all jumping in to vote for Masters. So this is what's making the race so much more tipping in his favor. Not only do you got the Trump endorsement, but you've got the Democrats meddling now. And then my final point I wanted to make is, I like how you say that Masters should go back to venture capitalism, and you don't say that he should come back and, try another office, maybe something lower and, not with his big ego trying to run for Senate right away. I believe that he is permanently damaged too much. I believe he has said too many things in his past, recently, and he continues to say things that he is going to turn off all those moderate voters in the middle, the suburban mom types you have to get, or you're not going to win the election. And he never stops. He just literally tweeted a few days ago that Hispanics are against illegal immigration more than anybody else. And I'm sorry, while we're making inroads in the GOP into Hispanics, that is just a flat out lie. When you look at the demographics that are the strongest against illegal immigration, even blacks are more against illegal immigration than Hispanics. I cited a recent Rasmussen poll showing this. This man is just a train wreck. The things he says, Kelly is going to have a field day. He's going to make Masters look out to be the most racist, anti-Semitic person ever. And, there's nothing we can do.
Well, one thing you can do, Rachel, is stop pussyfooting around and tell us what you really believe about Blake Masters.
On that note, I think we should move on, since we've got to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. So, Ralph, what say you about this ESG movement in corporations?
Well, let's look in our latest blog over there at thoughtcriminals.ning.com. Okay, and I invite our billions of viewers to go over there, check it out, because it's awesome. Because Rachel's awesome, and she's derelict in posting there, but she will someday. And you never want to miss a word that Rachel posts. Okay, is that Howard Schultz, the original and interim CEO of Starbucks, and a left-winger, okay, is shutting down 16 profitable Starbucks outlets in places like Seattle and Washington, D.C., because of wokism. The politicians in these municipalities are making it so difficult for them to keep drug addicts and other degenerates out of their bathrooms, okay, thereby making it a dangerous place both for their employees and for their customers, that Howard Schultz is shutting down 16 profitable Starbucks outlets because the wokist faction of the Democratic Party has imposed their policies and has made it dangerous to keep these left-wing Starbucks open. Starbucks has a policy that their restrooms are open to the general public. You don't have to, go there and buy a latte or whatever in order to go and relieve yourself, because it's part of their ethos. But because of this, the fact is that the mayors and city councils of all of these left-wing cities have made it impossible for them to keep the violent people, the mental cases, the drug addicts, and the other degenerates out of their facilities in order to use their restrooms for their nefarious purposes instead of the purposes that they were designed for. So when even a Howard Schultz is attacking wokeism, I think we're reaching a turning point and maybe even an inflection point where we can finally drive wokeism, that nightmare of political correctness, which is a euphemism for totalitarianism, out of the United States, even in its bluest outposts like Seattle and Washington, D.C.
And we discussed this whole incident with Starbucks and the restrooms on our last show. So I actually want to move into discussing these other woke aspects because it's coming up in like political races. For example, here in the Arizona treasurer's race, the candidates are debating whether we should continue state contracts with Bank of America because Bank of America, doesn't want to do business with gun companies, fossil fuel companies. I mean, this is how bad it's getting when you've got state governments now getting involved in deciding, oh my gosh, maybe we shouldn't do business with these woke corporations. I mean, it's beginning to infest every level and people are getting shut out from doing business. I mean, mere gun companies. I mean, some of these companies like, Remington, they were just founded on old principles. I mean, they aren't even trying to be out there and in your face. They're just manufacturing something that, people didn't consider politically incorrect 200 years ago.
Or even today, because, one of the big attacks on this ESG wokeism stuff is, look, companies should be selling products that the public wants at a good price, period, full stop, and to try to turn them into propaganda organs for the left-wing progressive movement is an injustice to the consumers, to the companies, and to the American way. So, who was the greatest conservative ever, Rachel? I'm sorry to be blindsided.
Buckley Jr.
No, Superman, because he stood there with his arms akimbo, standing for truth, justice, and the American way. William F. Buckley Jr. was number 2. Okay, so people who are
true to nobody except Jesus.
Okay, Jesus was number 1, Superman was number 2, and William F. Buckley was number 3. But why are you shaking your head? You don't think Jesus was the number 1 conservative?
I don't think Superman is ahead of William F. Buckley Jr.
You're just saying that because Superman was an illegal alien, and you have like this weird thing against illegal aliens. He came from the planet Krypton.
Why are you calling them illegal aliens, Ralph?
Well, because he came from the planet Krypton after they blew it up. His mom and dad, his real name was Kal-El, sent him in a little rocket. He landed on Mom and Pa Kent's farm, who therefore created a federal felony by harboring an illegal alien, grew him up to become Superboy and then Superman, and stood for truth, justice, and the American way. So I'm just telling you.
Also a very made-up story.
I'm say again.
It's a made-up story. It's just
please.
Liberal fairy tale.
I'm just trying to move you to the right, okay, with me and Superman, because illegal aliens have come here to make America a more just and more prosperous country. And so I just want you to come over here to the right wing and drop your sneaky pink slip, conniving with the progressives in hippie punching the illegal aliens who are nothing but foreign aid for America from Latin America. So bring it on. And so all I'm saying is that wokeism is a form of totalitarianism. We have to, and it's even beginning to occur to some of the more honest people on the left, like the CEO of Starbucks, that we have to fight this, or because it is at base un-American and unbased, inhumane to be pushing this wokeism BS down the throats of the American people. There you go.
Maybe you're right. Maybe, with the Starbucks CEO becoming, aware of this, and there is going to be a push back against it. I'm just concerned that it seems to have just enveloped so many layers of society. And, I've written columns about how what concerns me is the fact that it's been so ingrained in the government laws and regulations that corporations have to adhere to, or they're going to be caught violating the law, that how, purely private of enterprises are these corporations anymore?
Well, they are private, but they're being pressured by totalitarian forces to toe the party line. So God bless you for your undying opposition to wokeism and all other forms of totalitarianism, Rachel. You are going to be our Joan of Arc. I just hope that they never get around to burning you at the stake.
That's about the weirdest ending I think we've ever had to one of our shows. But you know
I
what?
hope so.
I'll just let you sit on that one. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.